Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Safari Mack Explores Antarctica. I'm Safari Mack, your guide and host, helping you make connections to the wild. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're still hanging out in Antarctica, and it's still winter going on down there. Now, last week, if you had a chance to watch, we started off with the emperor penguins, and now we're gonna continue with today's short episode based on the leopard seal, or known by their Latin name of Hydruga leptonix. Now, I know it seems a little odd. Why would we start off with something that is cute, seemingly cute, to something that's dangerous, right? Well, as nature shows, we have to explore the balance between both prey and, of course, predator. So we're going to go ahead and do this today. And before we begin, if you're new to my channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Check out my Facebook page for content on conservation. And if you have questions or if there's an animal you want me to do in the future, you just have to send me an email, which you will always find the link to down in my description below. But if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's get started. However, we're going to not necessarily look into their family and their evolution, as we've done that quite enough already with both the California sea lion and even the walrus. So if you want to go check that out and see the evolution of how those creatures came to be, you can go do that. But here's just a quick little reminder, if we have forgotten, between the difference between seals and sea lions. So obviously, seals cannot use their back legs, and they don't have really ear flaps but ear holes, and they have to flounder around on the land with their bellies. While the sea lions have ears, or at least these external ear flaps, and they generally have both flippers for both the front and for the rear, which can help them walk a little more effective on land. So it's also known that sea lions are technically a little bit bigger than seals, and they are very noisy. But enough about that. So like I said, if you want to go check out the sea lion or the walrus, be sure to go do that, and then you can come on back as we continue. Now let's instead go to the discovery and the naming of these animals. Now, it was originally described first by French zoologist Henri Marie Ducrotay de Blainville back in 1820, where he originally described the species based on a stuffed specimen from a collection that was sourced around the southern seas, more specifically and more likely the Falkland Islands. We'll get to a little bit more about that later. Now we'll go into their habitat, lifestyle, and their reproduction. So because these guys live in Antarctica, they're what you call pathologic seals, or ice lovers, which basically inhabits the pack ice between 50 degrees south and 80 degrees south on the Antarctic continent. Now, these animals mostly remain on the pack ice throughout most of the year and are generally a solitary species. But however, it's been noted that they seem to be hanging more on the western Antarctic ice sheet than those in the eastern part of the continent. Now, it's thought that these creatures were thought to be shallow divers, but science has been able to find out with time depth recorders, or TDRs for short, that these guys can actually dive more than 80 meters, or at least 260 feet, just to find food. So when it comes to the breeding season, they usually, like I said, they're solitary until it's time to breed, where males will mate with as many females as possible, and then after a gestation period of anywhere from 8 to 11 months, they'll give birth to only a single pup. And then after 1 month of nursing, mom weans the baby and begins to teach her baby how to hunt. Speaking of which, let's talk about the feeding style. So, believe it or not, as a pup, these creatures actually start eating krill, for starters. And then gradually they work their way up the food chain. So, as we know, they are hunters of penguins, but they will also eat fish, squid, and even other seals, such as this crab-eater seal. So, I know what you're thinking. That seems cannibalistic, isn't it? Well, when you're living on a continent of extremities, you need to take every bit of food availability and every food source as you can find and get. Now we're gonna skip their influence in human cultures, and we're just gonna really continue on and go to the wild things about these animals. So they may not look it, but believe it or not, the leopard seal is considered to actually be the third largest species in the world. Now, I know it's a little hard to believe, but when you think about it, if they're able to grab onto something as big as an emperor penguin, and an emperor penguin is pretty big, we don't often think of it like that, but we are not that far off. They actually would reach around our waistline, the emperor penguin, that is. And if a leopard seal can grab that, that's pretty big. Now, of course, they also may not look it, but they are pretty fast swimmers, reaching speeds up to 24 miles an hour. 24 miles an hour. And they've even been known to snatch penguins up on the ice floes to catch their prey. Now, this last wild thing may really, really surprise you. But their teeth are actually pretty interesting. So here I have a special picture where you can see. So in the front area, you have these huge killer canine-like teeth, which are perfect for grabbing penguins or fish or other seals, right? But now look at the side teeth. Look at these side teeth. Believe it or not, now I know you're probably thinking, if they're eating penguins and fish and squid, how are they eating krill? They're actually known to, in a way, sieve the water, similar to other animals that eat krill, and be able to catch krill in that manner. So, not bad. And finally, they are known to while they are opportunistic hunters, meaning they'll eat whatever they can find, they are also known to have certain preferences, like they'll play with their food for a while before they finally dig in. But they also have been recorded just eating certain parts of the prey and leaving the rest to go to waste. So in a way, they play with their food, and they're sometimes a bit picky about what they'll eat. Now, we're going to go into their challenges and their conservation. Currently, they're not listed as an endangered species, but they are listed as least concern, meaning it doesn't seem that they're in immediate need of help. However, because these animals are mostly, secluded and restricted to the Antarctic regions or the subpolar regions of the Antarctic, they are probably having a hard time with the melting ice and such. Remember, these guys need the ice floes just as much as the other seals and even the other animals like the emperor penguins and even other species of penguins need to survive. So now these animals are adaptable, but what about their food source, like penguins or even the Antarctic krill? If they go, so does the leopard seal. Now, thankfully, the hunting and these guys are also hunted, but that's regulated by the Antarctic Treaty System. So only a certain amount are ever killed, and it seems that maybe while they are viewed as dangerous animals, and they have been known to sometimes attack people, they actually have been seen kind of coming up close to people, that is, divers in the water, and observing them. Of course, though, you don't want to get too near, and you want to really keep your distance, even if you're a specially trained scientist or biologist, as we are called. So that's why we all now need to figure out how we can work together to make sure that leopard seals still have their place as one of the top predators of the Antarctic region. Now, for next week's episode, we are going to still stay within the Antarctic region, but we're actually going to head over to the Falkland Islands, where there is a bit of a more menagerie of different animals to see. And next week, we're going to start off our time on the Falkland Islands with the world's largest, the southern elephant seal. But until next time, this is Safari Mack, and I'll see you all out there.